欢迎大家参加世界日报举办的2021年春季线上教育讲座。我们邀请到全美大学成功策略创办人 Dr. Simon Chen 陈兆新医学博士为大家演讲成功进入医学院申请策略和专业选择。
I'm Dr. Simon Chen. I'm a medical doctor. My specialty is gastroenterology and endoscopy, meaning that I take care of people's stomach, colon, liver, pancreas, gallbladder, and I also do examination of people's internal organs of the stomach, colon, small intestine, etc., etc. I've been a medical doctor for more than 25 years. My previous engagement was mostly on the West Los Angeles side at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center and also UCLA Medical Center. I was on the teaching faculty of UCLA Medical Center. I was also on the admission committee of UCLA Medical School as well as Mount Sinai Medical School. I'm very passionate in helping and training my young students. Doesn't matter they are a college student applying to medical school or they are a high school student applying to BSMD combined medical program. My success rate, I'm very happy to inform you so far. For medical school, so far for BSMD medical school, my success rate is 100%. I've never had one student who is not able to get from high school into BSMD or get from college into medical school. There's no magic. I'm here to share with you today about a method that I have been using for the last 18 years. For the time being, I call that strategy. Strategy means that there is a systematic method that will help you how to present yourself to the admission committee. Today's topic is on medical school admission success and application strategy and academic choice. In other words, the more to become a medical doctor. Medical doctor by definition is somebody who provide medical care, but there are multiple academic pathways to become a medical doctor. Today's talk will be given in English for the convenience of college students and high school students. So for parents, please bear with me. All my slides will have sufficient Chinese characters to explain to you what will be the content I'm presenting in English. Essentially, my strategy is about one-on-one counseling, coaching, and tutoring. I don't teach chemistry, I don't teach biology, I don't teach biochemistry. Those are the responsibility of the student and the professor. However, I do teach students concerning how they present themselves and actually, especially on the timing of the preparation. I'll tell you more in a minute. Last year 2020, MCAT canceled. Students cannot go back to university, so many of them actually become somewhat relaxed, so they're not getting their A's. If that's the case, how do you get into medical school? Because you don't have MCAT, you don't have GPA. Lots of volunteering activities get canceled. Students cannot go to hospital, cannot go to the emergency room, cannot shadow a physician, and cannot get into a laboratory to do experiments. How do you demonstrate your interest in medicine? A lot of students apply to Doctor of Medicine, MD degree. Some students prefer DO, Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine, and some students even prefer or some students prefer PA, Physician Assistant. Which one is the best for you? How do you find out? Also, most importantly, my students, they adhere to a very strict time course, meaning a timetable. They never delay the application. In general, that means that to apply to medical school, students need to start on the first day when the application is open, not the last day, the deadline day. Qualified students, hopefully all of you do have, but not necessarily. Qualified students for medical school, you should have a GPA of 3.8 or higher. And your MCAT should be a 518 or higher. This is not easy, especially schools with like Princeton, who has grade deflation, Harvard, likewise, etc. So GPA also depends on which school you come from. So in general, certain medical school will avail 50%, half of their seats to so-called Ivy League and top university students. But anyway, a 3.8 and a 518 is pretty safeguarded to go to medical school. The nation by 2025 need approximately 850,000 doctors. But the nation medical school only training and graduate approximately 750,000 doctors. So therefore, we are constantly short by 100,000 students to become medical doctors to serve the nation. This is a very interesting phenomenon. That's exactly why in the last 5 years or so, I would say there's more than 10 MD medical school, more than 10 DO medical schools being established in the country to help the demand for the supply of manpower for medicine. Top 10 medical schools include Harvard, New York University, Duke, Columbia, Stanford. Their admission rate are all lower than 5%. Harvard is 3.5, NYU is 2.5, Duke University is 3.6, Columbia is 4.1, Stanford is 2.3. These are top research universities, so their demand, their request from students in terms of their overall qualification is much higher. But there's absolutely no need to say that I must go to these universities because in my opinion, for pre-medical students, all you need is one. That means that out of 155 medical schools in the country, all you need is get into one so that you will have an MD degree. Once you have an MD degree or equivalent DO degree, you will be offered jobs. You will become a doctor. Okay? Unlike other professions, only 50% of the graduates can receive the board exam and pass the medical board to get a license, and some other professional people may not get to have a job offer. Medical doctors, never a problem. But the problem also is UC San Francisco, Johns Hopkins, University of Washington, Seattle, University of Pennsylvania, Yale University, they all have approximately 5% only acceptance rate. That means 100 people apply, only 5 get in. The converse to that is 100 people apply, not only, there will be 95 students get rejected. So discouraged students are building up year to year. Also in medical school application, we don't recommend students to reapply more than 3 times. There is a unsound dictum is that if you apply total 3 times, you don't get in, you don't have a success in getting in, your chance is dropping down to like 0. So be very careful to plan out you get in the first round, your first application. Another very interesting phenomenon in medical school is interview. For example, Harvard University, they have about 6,000, 7,000 applicants. So they interview 12% of the 6,000, 7,000 people. So one of that is about 800 students for interview. But on the admission, they take about 1/3. That means on the day of interview, 3 people come in, looking right, looking left. 1 of the 3 people will get in. UC San Francisco, even more interesting. Out of 8,000 applicants, they only interview 6%. But out of 6% of the 500 people, they would take half or more than half, 63%. So 3 people go into a room for interview or in the same day. 2 people looking right, looking left, 2 people get in. Hopefully the one in the middle, that's you, will get in also. Interview is extremely important. What does it mean? Besides your 3.8, besides your 518 as number, to become a medical doctor, you have to be tested on your social skill, your social concern, and of course, your EQ. EQ means is that you know how to deal with yourself, you also know how to deal with others. EQ does not come in the day before interview. EQ comes in when you are 16 years old in high school, 17 years old when you're a freshman in college. Medical school demand and the requirement is very high and very keen. So besides your IQ, they also demand a lot about your EQ. Besides your 3.8 and your 518, you also need your EQ so that you can pass interview. Your chance is 1 out of 3, or some school like San Francisco, your chance is actually 2 out of 3. So therefore, medical school is extremely competitive process. 20 people apply, only 1 person get in. In order to capture your opportunity, you must start with clinical experience. You have to love seeing patients. You must have laboratory experience. You know how to do experiments and publish paper and publish data representing advances in medicine. You have to have a focused future represented in your essay. You cannot say that I want to be a family doctor at the same time I want to be a neurosurgeon, because that is not possible from the point of view of medical school training nor in residency training. You must have impressive interview skill, your EQ, and your social concern about society, and you must have a society commitment. You must know how to present yourself as the involved doctor for people's health and sickness. Last year 2020, it's very difficult to get your clinical experience. So therefore, I always recommend to my student, I always recommend to them is that you must have customized, unique clinical experience. So to match your future interest, that means to match your future vision of what kind of doctor you will become. If you cannot be an emergency room volunteer, but you don't want emergency room anyway as a future profession, you really want to be a primary care doctor, maybe all you need to do is really go to a government clinic, HIV clinic, free clinic, to learn about how to deal with a person's overall general health. So therefore, stereotyped arrangement planning does not apply to medical school. Timing. It takes about a year and a half of time to get into medical school. I always recommend my students that before the application due on June of certain year, you have to use 6 months, January to June, to write the essay. And before you write the essay, you need 6 months, that means from approximately June to December of the application year and before, to have a application strategy. And of course, before you're already taking your MCAS and so forth. Application need to be done on time. You cannot drag on your application and don't submit in June. Preferably, I ask all my students to submit on June 1st and finish the secondary application by August 1st. So therefore, it will generate rolling admission. Let me explain in a minute. Interviews are done by rolling admission. That means earlier you interview, the earlier you will be admitted. That is called rolling admission. For example, in October, a school may admit 30% of the applicants interviewed. November, admit another 30% of the applicants interviewed. By December, they may even admit another 30% of the applicants interviewed. That means by December, they already have 90% of the school fulfilled, no more seats. By January, maybe only 10% of medical school class seats available to you. So you see, early birds get all the worms, right? Okay, you apply early, your chance is 90%. You apply late, your chance may be only 10%. Very simple mathematics. Start early, early start. Early prep, early planning, early application, on-time application, never delay, and early interview. Those are the best first step strategy for medical school application. First step. A lot of students, they know they want to become doctors in high school, about 20%. Some students know they want to become a doctor in college, about 29%. You have a lot of time to prepare. Why should you delay your application beyond June 1st of the application year? A lot of students would say that, oh, I love medicine because of my parents. I love being a doctor because I have a great doctor. I want to become a doctor because I myself have an illness. It doesn't matter what's your influence. You just have to get started and get started early. Pre-medical usually is about at least 2 years process. I joke around with my high school student all the time. I said the day that you put down your cap and gown, that means at your high school graduation, that's the time you start pre-medical already. And from my student want to go to BAMD, BSMD, I ask them to get started in 9th grade, 10th grade, not at 12th grade. In high school, you have to learn to take enough courses to prepare yourself, including English, foreign language, mathematics, sciences, etc., etc. But sciences must include laboratory science. In college, you have to take general chemistry, general biology, general physics, organic chemistry, which is a headache to most college students, math, calculus, English, biochemistry. Today is also required. You must have psychology, sociology, maybe even statistics. Start early. College student, you apply on June 1st. High school student, you apply on November 1st. you must start early. You must apply early. So what are the different academic possibilities to become a medical doctor? By a loose definition, medical doctor means MD, Doctor of Medicine, BSMD, combined program, DO, Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine, PA, Physician Assistant. Essentially, they all do about the same thing. Of course, medical doctor, Doctor of Medicine, they have a much grander, wider choice to become subspecialists, to become a much more highly technically trained doctor. But DO doctors, too many of them actually will become family doctor or general doctors. PA usually just helpers, so-called, assisting to medical doctors or DO doctors. Medical school, MD, your GPA must be 3.8, MCAT 518. BSMD, high school student, your GPA should be around 3.8 and your SAT 1 should be around 1580. DO medical school, GPA approximately 3.0, much lower in requirement. MCAT, much lower, no longer 518, it's 505. PA, physician assistant, GPA around 3, no need for MCAT. Some schools require GRE, but you must have 1,000 hours of clinical activity. BSMD program are very interesting. In the whole nation, there are many programs, approximately 88 programs, but 13 of them in New Jersey, 17 of them in New York, 13 of them in Pennsylvania, 11 of them are in Texas. Why? Why California only one? Why Colorado only one? Why Connecticut only one? The reason is New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania are being classified as manpower shortage areas. So therefore, from high school, they would like to create programs so to guarantee certain students from high school in 8 years to become medical doctors. Hopefully, someday they will serve their own state. That's why. So when you pick a program, you have to be very careful to pick. You don't want to pick a program that's really want to train manpower for their own state. If you really want to go to New Jersey or New York and eventually you want to come back to California, that school may not consider you when you apply. So total programs, BSMD 88, 6 years to graduate, only 2, 7 years to graduate will be 23. Most schools, 63 of them will be 8 years combined program. State residency, I just talked about that before, 25 schools require that. And among the 88 programs, about 30 or so are top schools, so-called top name schools. The purpose of BSMD program is to gather the most qualified students at an early stage so that they will become doctors in a much earlier preparation. They don't have to waste time to go through a lot more stress. So that will reduce stress for the student, reduce costs for the student, and early graduation, so get early to get into service, especially last year with COVID affecting the nation, we need more doctors. When you consider a BSMD program, make sure you will consider whether the school is 6, 7, or 8 years, because it depends on how you pay the tuition, right? How many years you will become a doctor. You should also ask them, do I need to take the MCAT eventually? Because from high school, you only take SAT. You don't have to take the MCAT. So certain questions need to be asked. DO doctors, Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine. Now, earlier we talked about MD schools, right? So we have Harvard, Columbia, Yale, Stanford. Look at this list of DO medical school. We cannot find Harvard, UPenn, Yale, Stanford, etc. We just can't. Because approximately 40 years ago, the nation said we need a different type of doctor who will become only family doctors and not become eventually a neurosurgeon, open heart surgeon. So the nation created this category. It's called DO, Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine. And these doctors actually practice medicine, family practice, and general practice. At the same time, they also do spinal manipulation, something called OMT. So therefore, none of these schools actually represent the so-called mainstream, top-ranking Ivy League, etc. Nothing wrong with that. All these DO doctors, when they come out, they still serve people. They still perform as a general medical doctor, family medical doctor, and they serve the nation's manpower shortage of 100,000 doctors short. So DO doctors, many of them would never become subspecialists, would never become a surgeon, would never become a gastroenterologist like me, but they function very well as a family doctor. PA, Physician Assistant School. Very interesting phenomenon. Since these students, they will get a master degree and get a licensure and training, become PA, Physician Assistant. So therefore, top school actually is a top 10 university, Duke University. On this list, we'll find Duke, Iowa, Emory, Baylor, Yale, so on and so forth. You will find top name schools, Stanford, Cornell, etc., etc. So therefore, become a PA, meaning that from high school, you go to college, of course, you get a science degree usually, and then from college, you apply for 2 years master degree to be a PA. You can actually go to very top universities. So look into that. So for certain students who really want top name school, PA is a good choice. PA is also a good choice because it's only 2 years. And 1 year of training or residency, and then you can help in a medical clinic. California state law is changing. It is also possible that PA can also open a clinic all by himself with some supervision from a medical doctor, MD. So watch the legal ramification of that in the next year or so. So PA doctors, okay, physician assistant, eventually someday they may even function almost exactly like a general medical doctor, like a DO or MD. Application success. You must have a clear understanding of the field of medicine. Are you going to be MD, DO, PA, and what kind? What's your specialty? A clear focus of a career path. Do you want to be a family doctor? Do you want to be a neurosurgeon? Do you want to be a cardiologist? A passionate study of medicine. You have to love science. You have to love pathophysiology, the study of diseases, and aptitude to digest large amount of medical knowledge. When I was a medical student, each textbook was about this thick. Now the textbook's about 3 times of this thick. Medical knowledge has swelled up because there's so much to learn. So many students, when they apply, I mean, they write an essay, is that they want to be a medical doctor because they want to help people. That is a absolutely no-no. The first step to become a medical doctor is that you have to love pathophysiology. You have to love the study of diseases. It is not about you love helping people. There are too many professions that's about helping people. Nursing is one, by the way. Social worker is another one. So therefore, success strategy, you have to go with a winning strategy. You have to enjoy learning. You have to enjoy a positive view. You cannot be sick yourself so to help other sick people. In freshman year, vision. Sophomore year, plan. Junior year, focus. Senior year, strategy. Meaning same thing, 9th grade student, vision, 10th grade student, plan, 11th grade student, focus, 12th grade student, strategy. You must have a theme. You must have an expertise of your love of a disease. You must have differentiation of yourself, who you are. You must have competitive edge. You cannot be an ordinary student because a medical school admission rate is only 5% or less. 95 applicants out of 100 will become very, unfortunately, unhappy. My success rate all these years to matching students to the top school so far is extremely optimistic. I have quite a few students in Harvard, UPenn, Columbia, Yale, Cornell, Dartmouth, UC San Francisco, UCLA, Stanford, Johns Hopkins, etc. But for 18 years of this success, it's not by chance. It's by strategy built between myself and the student. I've helped quite a student to go to dental school. UC San Francisco is the #1 dental school. UCLA probably top 5. I'm also very optimistic and very happy to help students to go to dental school. Veterinary school, my actually best story was a student. She got both UPenn, Cornell, and also UC Davis. UC Davis ranked #1 in veterinary school. My combined students, 6 to 8 years BSMD, I'm so proud that my student get into Northwestern, Brown, USC in the past no longer exists, UC San Diego in the past no longer exists. Okay? I'm very strategic in helping my student. If they are a laboratory research type of student, Northwestern. If they're very unique, public health, community health, also at the same time love science and diseases, they should belong to Brown, an Ivy League school BSMD program. BSDDS dental program, my students are very fortunate. Most of them actually wound up at UOP, University of the Pacific in Stockton area in Northern California. And then PharmD pharmacy degree, pharmacology pharmacy degree can be 5, 6, or 7 years. And many more, my students go to UCSF, ranked number 1, USC, also University of the Pacific as well. But the key is, for those students successfully, high school students, successfully get into BSMD program, they already got admitted to HYPSM, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Stanford, MIT. That means these are top students anyway before they committed to a BSMD combined program. So far, my high school student able to get into BSMD, 100%. I don't have too many, only 1 to 2 a year. My BSDDS student, 100% success rate. I don't have too many, only 1 to 2 per year. My college student able to get into dental school, medical school, 100%. I only take 5 students a year. That means that I don't divide my attention to these few students, so they will be 100% successful into their dream of choice. So therefore, GPA is 1, MCAT, but you must also start on your clinical and hopefully your research. You must think about how to benefit society. You must have your expertise all lined up. On the other hand, you also must understand whether you're going to be an MD candidate, you're going to be a DO candidate, you're going to be a PA candidate. You have to be clear. All these need to be reflected in your essays, and most importantly, more than 1/3 of the chance at the end of success or not is in your interview. Make sure you know that. So students, you must have a theme, a unique differentiation, a competitive edge. You must have a vision, plan, focus, strategy to get started. Early start is the better. I always want my student to have a mission, that means how to help the society, a value, how to help themselves as well, a clinical experience, you must love diseases and you must love how to work with patients, not just helping patients, work with patients, and you must use your talent, doesn't matter is a science talent or is a people talent, but you have to get to the next invention. That means a new way of dealing with people's sickness and diseases. I use education psychology, I use coaching and training, and I use to build with students a one-of-a-kind strategy. I'm a career coach, I'm an education consultant, and I'm also an application consultant. I help students to find a career, I help students to secure the necessary education, and I help students to write the essays and the interview. This is what I do. My success rate so far is 100% for any student from high school to go to BSMD, any student from college wanting MD, DO, or PA. My success rate, I'm very happy to say, all these years is 100%. I certainly hope that you will be the next student. Thank you for attending. I certainly hope that the presentation in English will help the young student. In the meantime, parents will also appreciate all the Chinese translation. I will have more YouTube and similar videos in the future. Please work with me. Please give me suggestions on how to help students and how to present information. Thank you.